normal people become terrified of criminals.
Shots were just fired. Police just came out and told us, and we're headed there right now.
They become terrified of their own government.
Will SCOTUS intervene in Illinois assault weapons case? This is big news. This could, look, let me just first start this segment by saying we're winning. I think more than half the country is already in some form constitutional carry. Though Florida only allows concealed carry without a permit, you can't open carry, which is interesting. But I think more than half the country, something like 26 states, it's now constitutional carry, meaning if you live in the state, you get an ID, you can walk into a gun store. You can say, I'd like to purchase a gun, fill out the federal background check form. Once you clear, you can buy the gun. You don't need a permit from the state. However, they're trying to ban assault weapons. And as we learned in the documentary Infringed that just came out, nobody even knows what that means. It has no universal definition. And anybody who knows anything about guns knows there is no such thing as an assault weapon.
Somewhat similar to the What is the Woman documentary. We went around and we interviewed everyone. So what is an assault weapon? And that is the conclusion we came to. Not a single person could define it.
It works to their advantage, right? Because
yes, absolutely.
In Biden's State of the Union, he was talking about shooting that happened with a handgun.
Yeah.
And then, at the end he goes, ban assault weapons now. Okay, but you just talked about a handgun.
People don't...
It's a semi-automatic handgun.
People don't understand that, and thankfully for it, but the people that are anti-gun for a long time haven't wanted to educate themselves about guns. And what's unfortunate and what they're starting to learn now is really what they're after is semi-automatic. Yeah, because that's what...
So first, I'm assuming 99% of people who watch the show know what semi-automatic means. It means when you pull the trigger, a single bullet comes out. Yeah. You had that great clip in Infringed of Michael Bloomberg saying, semi-automatic, they pull the trigger back and it just goes pop, 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 pop. Not true. Yeah. Let me read this from Bearing Arms. This is important. They say, today's Supreme Court arguments focused on the federal prohibition on firearms possession for those subject to a domestic violence restraining order. And in the months ahead, the court will hear cases involving the ATF's administratively imposed ban on bump stocks, as well as a First Amendment case brought by the National Rifle Association against a New York official that the group contends illegally pressured private companies not to work with the organization. They go on to say that now 2A activists in the land of Lincoln are ready to try their luck at the Supreme Court once again, this time after the 7th Circuit Court of Appeals recently overturned an injunction and allowed the state's ban on so-called assault weapons and large capacity magazines to be enforced. In their decision, the 3-judge panel concluded that AR-15s and other arms labeled, quote, assault weapons by Illinois lawmakers are not protected by the Second Amendment at all because semi-automatic rifles are like machine guns, which the court declared are not protected weapons in the Heller decision. The actual phrasing was weapons that are most useful in military service, M16 rifles, and the like. But the Supreme Court has also said that arms that are in common use for lawful purposes are protected. This could be big. This could mean that we finally end this stupid fake assault weapon argument. Right. There is no such thing as an assault weapon. Now, by all means, if they wanted to draft a simple statement as to what an assault weapon was, let's hear it. The issue? Assault weapon is a nebulous term intentionally used to scare people to try and gain control.
Exactly. And you saw this with like the Cody Wilson interview, the Ghost Gunner, right? Where he talks about how the ATF are constantly playing this cat and mouse game with him with just the definition of a gun, a rifle in general. He's like, in order to restrict and control us, they want to make the polymer 80 like that has to be a gun. The primordial form, then he creates just a block, the 0% receiver, right? Now the ATF is going to have to designate that a gun in order to track that down. And they will keep changing the definition because they want to be able to control it at all costs possible.
The 0% receiver. Okay, so it's a metal block. It's just a rectangle of metal. And a CNC machine, which basically cuts metal, can cut it into a receiver.
Yeah, it's a desktop CNC machine that they make at Ghost Gunner that you can buy. And then they, if you want to manufacture,
if you're interested,
if you want to manufacture a lower receiver with it, they will send you the aluminum block in the mail, and you just put it into the CNC.
So the story here is that companies used to sell what's called an 80%, which is not a complete gun, but it's components of. And the ATF said no, because people can make a gun with it, it's a gun officially. So Ghost Gunner just sells blocks, and then the issue here is it's actually First Amendment. That 3D printed guns are just knowledge, the knowledge or the file, the document that can make the weapon.
Yeah, information.
The issue is that 3D printing and at home CNC cutting metal and stuff, it's cheap and ubiquitous. So this is one of the big challenges, that 3D printed guns, the cat's out of the bag, man.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
Can't stop the signal.
It's going to be crazy when they start like registering USB drives as guns. And
I will say,
unironically.
yeah, unironically, exactly.
everybody should definitely get safety training. Don't take this stuff lightly. I just read a crazy story where some guy in Brazil was goofing off like a moron, and his girlfriend was filming him laughing, and he pointed a gun at her, and now she is no longer alive. Guns. See, this is the thing. I feel like when Alec Baldwin killed that woman,
Helena Hutchins
with a gun, the left defended him, saying it's not his fault. And I'm like, the craziest thing in the world to me is that the gun control people are saying a dude who pointed a loaded weapon at a woman and killed her, had live ammo in his belt, it's not his fault. And all of the gun control people are like, you are responsible for whatever comes out of the barrel of a gun you are holding. I'm like, how are the gun control people excusing this guy?
There are 4 rules, and that's it. At the end of the day, there are 4 rules. Keep your finger straight and off the trigger. Never point a gun at anything that you wouldn't destroy. Treat every gun as if it's loaded, and know your target and what's behind it at all times. If you follow those rules, no one dies. Period.
Well, sometimes.
Well, I mean, if you no one dies by mistake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The point is, those are basic rules that you're taught immediately all the time to dramatically minimize stupidity, which results in people getting seriously hurt. However, but let's be real. You need to understand and respect firearms, because misfires happen. Like, instructors sometimes have issues. There's a lot of things that can go wrong.
But no one hates bad gun users more than other gun users, because they ruin it for everyone. No one will be more outspoken against the Alec Baldwins of the world than the donut operators and the Brandon Herreras who want you to use your guns properly.
Just put a picture up of you holding a gun with poor trigger discipline, with your finger on, and you're going to hear about it
Absolutely.
forever.
Exactly. You'll never live it down.
Correctly, we'll hear about it.
When I was in Egypt, we had to go to the state media building to get press cards so that you wouldn't get arrested for being there. To walk into the state building, they have armed guards standing on both sides of the walled entrance, and these people do not have what is referred to as muzzle discipline. They're holding all their weapons like this, and so I limboed. I'm just like, bro, that 18-year-old Egyptian dude holding an AK straight up at head level, I would rather limbo and have them laugh than like walk past that dude. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I got the internet. I seen what happens.
Most people just didn't care and they walked past him, and I'm just like, I'm gonna go like this and loop my head around because.
But you have awareness around firearms.
Yeah.
Like, you are watching, you understand, and that's even if someone doesn't want to own a firearm, having an understanding of how they work is a pretty damn critical skill.
It's humbling.
It's humbling, absolutely.
Too, is you see all these clips like they'll. They will pull the trigger and the shot doesn't go off, and then they're like, "Oh, what's wrong?" And then they look down the barrel.
Oh man!
Don't do that.
No weapons.
No, I want to stress the Alec Baldwin thing. They're saying they may bring charges again, but just understand this: when these liberal people want to defend Alec Baldwin simply because he's a liberal, listen, just understand this. This is what we try to call out. The dude had reportedly live bullets in his gun belt on his person. He had a single action revolver. Yeah. So you got to pull the hammer back and then you got to pull the trigger. He lied about pulling the trigger. There was a forensic conclusion that the trigger had to have been depressed, the only way it would have fired. There was a live round in the chamber. I say outright, if you are handed a gun and it can fire bullets, you are responsible for what comes out of the end of it.
Even if it's a blank.
Yeah,
exactly. Blanks kill people,
right?
And they don't understand this. And the argument Alec Baldwin said was, if I were to have opened it to check, they would have rushed over and taken it from me for tampering with it.
That
and
makes
I'm like,
no sense.
Hollywood is broken if they are handing random people weapons that those people have not checked. Don't follow those policies. That gets people hurt, and we saw it with Alec Baldwin.
There are. I did a few videos on this, and there are rules within like the Actors Guild and set workers, and you can go and read them, and they're pretty standardized. Most people know them, and it says both the weapons handler and the actor is supposed to check. So I don't know if he said that. That's insane, because that's a pretty standard. You can talk to any weapons expert in Hollywood, and they all will affirm
But like
both people
live bullets
are supposed to
on
check.
set. That is never okay.
Yeah, that blows my mind.
Like, how does that happen, right?
I can't even imagine how that happened.
They claim that people were goofing off and
Yeah.
Shooting cans.
for hours.
And shooting cans with the guns you are going to be using on set. I'm sorry, what?
it is insane to me. You get all these liberals being like, it's not his fault. He's just an actor. And I'm
But again,
just
it's that mentality, right? It's not hypocrisy. It's hierarchy.
Exactly.
What are Hollywood people doing shooting cans on their spare time anyway?
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.